it's a regular meeting. It's Monday, November 27th, and it is 7 o'clock. With that in mind, if we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Linda, if you don't mind.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Quisenberry.
Here.
Nivell.
Here.
Brooks. Here. Green.
Here.
Hayden.
Here.
Randazzo's with notice.
Okay. Next, number 5. It's a called presentation. It is a preliminary sewer study. After we have an approved agenda, we're going to move right on.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Okay, that we made quick work of that, number 4. Moved and supported. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The agenda does pass. Next up is number 5, which is a presentation. This is a preliminary sewer study project, and we have some folks that are here with us. I think, Brian, if you don't mind introducing, and also just for your folks' benefit, we like to put these things early in the meetings so that you know you can do what you got to do and don't have to wait around for all the real fun stuff that's going to happen.
First up in our play-by-play commentator today, Scott Haymeyer from Rowe Professional Services.
Yep.
He'll be leading the discussion. We have Jen Cook and Brian Coburn from the Water Resources Commission as well. And if you guys want to add any color commentary at any point, feel free.
Yep. All right, good evening, everybody. So we're here tonight to talk about the sewer study we just finished for connecting the village of Ortonville to the Northwest Oakland County Interceptor Sewer. Before we get into the study, we've got some background things we'd like to go over with council.
Scott, is this the kind of the handout we got? It's the same as
Yep, it's exactly, yep, you got it.
Okay.
Yep. So a little bit about the project background. So this, in 2020, Genesee County Drain Commissioner's Office, Division of Water and Waste Services, they updated their master plan. And one of the important things from there is they confirmed the service district for the Anthony Rangone treatment plant, which is in Montrose, up here where I've got the cursor hovering here. It's a really large service district. It services 25 cities and townships in Genesee County, some areas in Lapeer, Saginaw, Shiawassee, and what's pertinent today, and it has some service areas in northern Oakland County. So that'd be parts of Holly Township, Groveland Township, Brandon Township, and the village. So in the master plan, the extension of the Kearsley Creek Interceptor, which we'll get to here in just a minute, it was approved as a 5-year plan, so 2025 is when the goal was to get it built. Rowe completed a sewer study for the county in 2021. The design engineering started earlier this year and is currently ongoing. And the goal is to get the project out for bids and possibly even start construction in the winter of 2024 if all goes according to schedule. Whoops, it's touchy. So this is the overall route for Genesee County's portion of the project called the Kearsley Creek Interceptor. The Kearsley Creek Interceptor, I know this is hard to see.
The big printouts are over there on the table.
Yeah. So the existing sewer stops at Court Street on the north side of 69, just west of Irish Road. So that's the downstream limits. So from there, the sewer extends down southerly along Irish Road, over to Perry Road, and then down Vassar Road, and then to McClellan, and then over to Dixie Highway. Fairly large project. There's the big elements. There's a partial flume to meter flume coming from the county at McClellan Road. There's a large triplex pumping station that pumps that red dashed area going down Vassar Road over Perry, and then up North Irish, that's all force main. It's about 6 miles of 24-inch force main, and then another 6 miles of 30-inch and 36-inch diameter gravity sewer. So, good sized project there. So the next piece is where Oakland County's extension kicks off. This project is called the Northwest Oakland County Interceptor. So McClellan Road and the county limits are up here in the north. So that's where the two projects meet up. So there's actually two regions. Region 1 goes down Dixie Highway, could potentially go down to Springfield Township, but doesn't sound like it's going to go quite that far. And then Region 2 is the area that you all are concerned with, so that goes down 15 and then runs down by Ortonville and down into Brandon Township. And then these two gravity regions, they're connected by a force main, this dashed line in red here. So this force main would pump over wastewater over to Region 1 and then back up north to Genesee County. The design engineering for this phase of the project is expected to start in 2024, and construction schedule is still a little in the air. Best guess right now is about 3 to 5 years out. Okay. So this sewer study we did is more of an update. There were previous sewer studies completed in 1956, 1988, and the most recent one in 2004. So the 2004 study evaluated gravity sanitary sewer systems, vacuum sewer collection systems, and low pressure sewer systems. It also considered some different wastewater treatment scenarios. One was a surface water discharge to the Kearsley Creek. There was a groundwater discharge system, and then the connection to Genesee County system, kind of like what we were just talking about with KCI, but a little bit different route. So the study found that the low pressure system made the most sense and was both the most cost effective. So this study didn't investigate gravity or vacuum collection systems. It just focused on low pressure collection systems, which I'll explain here in a minute.
You have a copy of the 2004 study right here if you want to read it too. It's riveting.
Yeah, makes for great late night reading. So this study objectives is, we didn't do any survey work, so it was high level design. We used what's called Geographic Information System, GIS data, to generate all our background maps and aerials. We considered existing utilities and land features to kind of lay out the plan. We met with stakeholders in the village and the township to confirm the service area. We determined the wastewater flows both for existing land use today and what we're going to project it out in the future.
You gotta go to your next page.
Oh, I'm on the wrong page, sorry. Thank you. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. Then we completed the preliminary design calcs for the low pressure system, which enabled us to develop a cost opinion. And then we're going to talk about the user cost elements, and then yeah, that's primarily what we focused on. Number 7. So, as you know, most of just about all the parcels in the study area are serviced by a septic system, and then I think everybody here knows that a lot of these systems have to be engineered to the soils and the groundwater conditions. So this map we have here, it's from the United States Department of Agriculture. They have some online soils maps and some useful tools when you're evaluating septic systems. So according to the USDA soil maps, there's kind of a mixed bag of soils. There's clay mucks, they're written down here, there's loams. as it pertains to septics, some of them are well drained, some of them are poor drained. So the next thing we look at is the USDA has some published groundwater depths. Code says you got to have 4 feet from the bottom of your field to the seasonal high groundwater table. So anything less than that, you're doing some you're bringing in some fill and bringing the field up. So you can see on this map, 0 to 10 inches is in red, 0 to 20 inches is in orange there, 20 to 39 inches is in green. So any of those areas are going to require some kind of engineered system for sure. And then the blues and the dark blue are more better from groundwater perspective for fields. So we take the soils, you take the groundwater conditions, and then USDA has a septic suitability program you can run, and that's the map we see here. So you can see the red, almost the entire village is what USDA would consider very limited as far as how it's going to perform with a septic system. And then there's a little bit of the yellow, which is somewhat limited, and then the gray area, it wasn't mapped. But I just thought this is interesting. I don't think we're telling anybody something they don't already know here from living in the area and seeing all the engineered fields. But it kind of confirms what we're seeing. Oops. So first thing we do is we need to identify a service area. And again, I apologize, this is hard to read, but this green outline area is our service district area. And it captures all the village, and then it also captures Brandon Township parcels that are on the opposite side of the road that would make sense to tie into the low pressure system. So all in all, we got 655 parcels, 542 residential, non-residential 123. There's 57 parcels in Brandon Township, 608 in the village, and the size is 769 acres. From that point, we divide that service area into 16 collector districts, we call it. They're basically for design purposes. So we calculate flows for each one of those districts, and that allows us to size the force main basically in the low pressure system. So I'm not going to get into these numbers, but this just further breaks down our service district by design districts. Okay, low pressure system. What are we talking about here? So this image on the top here, that's a plan view. So that's like if you're in the sky looking down on top of the home. The home sits right here. There's an existing service coming out to the septic field right here. So we come in, pick up that service. Gravity flows into a wet well that has a grinder pump in there that grinds all the solids into a slurry. The pump is serviced by electric from the house. They're single phase pumps. They're 30 to 40 amps typically, depending on what pump you go with. And then that pumps out through an 1.5 inch service line and then out to the mainline force main. That's anywhere from 2 inches up to, I think this one topped out at 8. So here's a view in profile, looking at it if you were like to cut it in half. This is the building wall. It's a little touchy. And then the sewer lead comes into the wet well, and then it's pumped out through the service line. Whoops. Sorry. Just jumped way ahead of myself here. And then out to the force main. On the very left there, that blue, that's a cutout of the wet well and the pump. It's hiding behind the Christmas tree here. And then this is another plan view next to it. So, wow, this is really touchy. There's a house, there's a pump, pumps out to the main. The main runs along the road corridor.
One of the key bits of information on this slide was, what you said, 1.5-inch service line, and the pump itself is, what, 2-3 feet? I mean, that whole, we call it the can, right? Like,
Oh, yep.
The footprint's quite small.
Yes, yep, good
especially
point.
compared to the septic.
Yeah, good point. Yep, doesn't take out much space at all. Yeah. And they can be sized so they have a heck of a lot more capacity than a field also. We'll get to that too.
Can you ask questions during this?
Sure.
When they're installing those lines there, are they able to do like horizontal boring so as not to have to disturb?
They can. Yeah, yeah. That's another plus of low pressure. Yeah, yeah. You can drill them in. Yeah, good question. Yeah, they're shallow. You only have to bury them below frost, and then since they're under pressure, they go up and down and follow the lay of the land. Okay, next thing we did in the study is we estimated the wastewater flows. So resident equivalency unit, that's a term you kind of want to become familiar with when you're talking wastewater. That's the term everybody uses. So how everybody thinks about it, it's the average day flow from a typical house. And then it's broken down farther. It's how it's figured. It's 100 gallons a day per capita. There's an average of 3.15 people per house. So you end up getting an average day flow of 350 gallons per day, or an REU. And that term's used in flows, that term's used in billing. It's something you want to familiarize yourself with. So that's the average flow. When we design the system, we peak that. So there's two peaks that typically occur during the day. In the morning when everybody's taking their showers, they're using a lot more water, and then when you get home from work and doing dishes and stuff, you typically use a lot more water. So general rule of thumb, the peaking is about 4 times the average day flow, but there's some standard equations used to calculate that, and for this study it ended up being anywhere from 3.3 to 4.4 was our peaking factor. So in order to determine the flows, for residential areas, they're pretty simple. A house is 1 REU. It's very, very straightforward math. For parcels as a commercial, the Water Resources Commission has a usage factor table that we used to estimate those flows. I don't have them memorized, but for instance, like it would say like for every 1,000 square feet of warehouse is 0.5 REUs or something like that. Or so many seats in a restaurant equals, 2 REUs or something like that. So we use those for commercial, and those are tried and true. They work really well. So for existing flows, we use the existing land use to project what the existing wastewater flows were. And then for future, if it already had a house on it, we assumed it didn't change, or if it had already had a use on it that we didn't think was going to change, we held that. And then for the ones we didn't, we used the future land use to project what those flows would be based on the land use that was in the future land use. Oops. Hang on. So calculate all those for 600 and change parcels, and this is what it looks like by district. Some of the things that were interesting, District 2 through 7 had growth from existing to build out from anywhere from 141 to 375%. And those were in like the main street and your commercial areas. So that's why you saw so much growth. And then the other districts were mostly residential, so you only saw growth that there was a vacant lot that could have been developed. Then it bumped up a little bit. But at the bottom there are the totals. The overall growth from existing to future is 87%. And why is this important? Because we got to make sure the system's going to work for both when you fire it up in the beginning, and then when you get your ultimate build out, you don't want to be replacing force mains and stuff like that you just put in. So this this design we have works for both existing and future flows. So next slide, I think, is what everybody cares most about. So the engineer's opinion of construction cost and phasing. So in the study, we broke this into phases A through K. We purposely didn't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because these are pretty flexible, and you can build them. Like phase A, that's the part that discharges to the interceptor. That has to be built first. But after that, there's a lot of flexibility on how you can attack this thing and build it because it's all under pressure. So we had all the costs broken down by phase, and then the total cost ended up being, my glasses, just under 34 million. So you take just a crude number, not taking any grants or funding or anything. You just take the cost, 34 million, divided by the future REUs, and you're looking at, it totals out to be about a little over 25,000 per REU. So 25,000 per average household. So that's just a construction cost. There's other costs you have to consider too with these systems. So we call these user cost elements. There's two primary, when you get your sewer billing, there's primarily two things you're paying for. So the tap-in costs, which are at the bottom, that's buying into the system. That's actually buying into the commodity there. So that would be the construction of the village's low pressure system, that 25,000, and then also the township's shared cost in the construction of the Northwest Oakland County Interceptor. So they have those two elements to it. And then there's also ready to serve costs, and those are typically, I've always seen them billed quarterly usually. And those include like operating expenses, like cleaning, inspection of the pipe, pump maintenance, administration fees. It also includes wastewater treatment at the plant. There's a picture of the Anthony Ragone treatment plant there. And then it should also have a reserve component in there because the system doesn't last forever, so you're going to eventually have to replace pumps and things like that. So it'll have some reserve in there.
Can I ask, so Jen, that's where you come in, right? Is that, this part is mostly what you guys?
The maintenance.
Right, and the billing, the maintenance and all?
Could, yeah.
So just so everyone knows, I was lucky enough to sit in the one before, but as far as maintenance and whatnot, if you want to just let people know if they are doing it, you're doing it, or just what the premise was with that?
Yes, I believe the assumption is that the county would kind of just do everything for you guys. So
Yeah.
I'm saying anything I don't like here, but
Yeah.
but you know, regular maintenance, there's preventative, you know, we'll be out there every, I don't know, so often to just check the pumps, check oil levels, just, you know, touch the equipment on a regular basis, respond to calls if they fail, like you said, accounting and people are good.
And then our ordinances will be based off of basically what, by your guidelines? Okay.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, you're stealing my thunder. I got that on.
Okay, sorry.
Just teasing. Good point. Good question. Not like this is set in stone, but just to give you guys an idea, I'm on a low pressure system. I'm in Argentine Township in Genesee County, and our sewer bill is $190 a quarter. So it might be, just to throw a number out there, I'm not saying this is going to be $190 a quarter, but that's what we pay, and it's a similar system.
I guess, and I'm not to steal your thunder, but another thing that we did mention that the county would do is you can still call it preventative maintenance, but kind of, you know, might need another capital project coming up, so, and then letting you guys know, hey, these pumps are 20 years old, we gotta start thinking about, or we're having more and more failures or maintenance calls, that type of stuff, so we'll inspect the lines most likely on a semi-regular basis and just kind of keep an eye
How
over.
long do they generally last?
Pumps or pipes?
Yeah,
Oh, either. I mean,
it'll
is this something
survive
that,
3
every
Matchbox
20
cars your
years?
kid flushes down the toilet. I
Say
mean,
that again?
it's hard. It just depends on how well they're, what you flush down your toilet. If they're taken care of, they should last 15, 20 years or more.
Yeah, design life on wastewater pumps is typically 20 years is a rule of thumb.
Okay.
It's a ton to do with maintenance, if you don't take care of it, it's gonna break. Wastewater is an aggressive liquid, it corrodes stuff, it's tough to, you really do need to take care of it. But it's also, I would say, not uncommon to last longer if you're gonna need maintenance, you might need new parts, but you can make, you're not buying a whole new pump every 20 years, hopefully.
But it would be
It's
safe
less-
to plan, like, just every 20 years, that could be the big hit.
We have a very robust asset management program that we already have for all of our other systems that we operate and maintain. We have 30 other systems that we operate and maintain. So we've already got the system set up, and basically we predict when things are going to have to be done, and we collect enough each year to cover those things when they're going to hit. We believe in rate stabilization. We don't want to have rates go up and down every year, man.
Right, yeah,
Make sure that
right.
we're planning far enough ahead. So when we get to that point of, fixing it, replacing it, whatever, we've got the funds in cash ready to pay for that type of stuff. I think it's also important to think of a water or a sewer system as a business. It's not really, the village is supporting it, the village is contributing towards it and working with it, but really it's a whole separate business, and you're gonna contract probably with the county to operate and maintain it under an agreement. You'll own it, we'll maintain it, but we make it very easy for the communities that we serve, because we do this every day.
Yeah, our DPW won't have to maintain it every day.
And the design life for pipes is designed is
Oh, yeah.
usually at least 50 years,
Yeah.
but they'll last much longer. And there's, we're not going to be like taking these pipes up again in 50 years. There's a ton of different ways to make them last. They'll last long till I think all of us.
Till all of us are gone, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want to say?
Most of us are gone.
Yeah,
At least
okay.
retired.
What's that?
Are you guys cover ownership of the grinders at all?
I wasn't, no. That's a good point, yeah.
So one consideration I think the village is gonna have to make at some point before this happens is who's gonna own the grinder pump.
Mhm.
We have some communities where, the village or the community owns the grinder pump, and they contract with us to maintain it. So when a homeowner calls in the middle of the night, we can come out and take care of it, which costs, right, for us to do that. There's other systems that say, no, it's the homeowner's responsibility, they take care of it on their own, we'll provide a list of providers that will take care of this service.
Yeah.
We've had it done both ways.
Huh.
And it's something I just wanna get you thinking about, no decision, obviously you don't have sewer yet, but, down the road, that decision will have to be made, and we can handle it either way, and we can help you make that decision when the time comes.
What do most communities do right now?
Most communities contract with us to maintain the grinder station.
Yeah,
Just
that's
'cause nobody wants the phone call in the middle of the night.
that's how ours is too. It's
Is
a
it?
beautiful thing, yeah. You don't have to worry
It's a
about anything.
beautiful thing.
It is. You don't have to worry about anything. Okay, potential funding sources. So there are a couple programs we pointed out that you could look at for financing. The Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Eagle. They offer low interest loans, and sometimes they'll give you a principal forgiveness on these types of projects. And the United States Department of Agriculture also has programs that'll offer low interest loans. In some instance, grants too. So those are two good programs you could look at for financing. And then resources, I mean, WRC is a great resource to talk to figure out financing, and there's also bond counsel and also financial consultants that specialize in this kind of area that you can engage and help lay out scenarios to finance the project. Okay, so I know money's a big thing, but there are other considerations we mentioned in the study when looking at these systems compared to septics. So there's environmental issues, right? So on-site septic systems, they're inspected by the health department once they're installed, and then they're not typically regulated after they're installed. So it's up to the homeowner to make sure it's operating correctly, and if they're well maintained, they're not a problem. But when they're not maintained, there's potential there for them to cause surface water and groundwater contamination if they're let go. So we had 665 parcels in the study area. So basically, you have 665 little mini wastewater disposal, groundwater disposal fields. So when you connect to this system, it all ends up at Anthony Ragone treatment plant. So that's one point source discharge to the Flint River. It's extremely highly regulated and monitored. So most people consider sewers a lot more eco-friendly system when you're compared to septics. And the other thing is the space consideration. As Jen mentioned, the grinder pump systems are only take a few foot diameter, pretty small footprint. And septic systems, you need the field. Any new builds, you need to have a reserve area too for when the initial field goes bad. So they take up quite a bit of space. And then treatment capacity, I think we've seen some of it here in the village. They're just limited by your absorption rate, your soils, the space you have, the size of the field you can put in. There's only so much treatment capacity that they can do. So you're kind of, if your goal is to have a big, vibrant downtown with lots of mixed-use buildings, septics are going to be pretty difficult to pull that off. Where these force main systems, we can take your future land use plan, figure out what your flows need to be, and we can make sure that system's sized to handle that. We're on the home stretch here. So the last thing we talked about in the study is the sanitary sewer ordinance. You'll need to put one of those together and start thinking about that when you put a system into place. We already talked about the village can have their own DPW, but sounds like the WRC option is the preferred choice in the room. You'll have provisions for establishing and collecting your rates in there. You'll have provisions for penalties and violations. And then the thing you kind of need to think about is the provisions for connecting to the system. So you can require everybody to connect as soon as the system is installed. And that's kind of the best way to spread around the money initially and make sure it's spread out as much as possible and get the fees down lower. But if that's not palatable, there's other ways to do it. If someone has a septic field they just put in, you could require that they connect once that system fails and they can't put another one in. There's a few different scenarios lined out here. I wasn't going to read all through of them, but that's a big element that you'll need to think about and talk through with the sewer ordinance. And I think that's it for the presentation. Anybody have any questions?
Where do we go from here?
That was the
What comes
question.
next?
That was the question, all right.
On your hypothetical numbering / lettering schematic there, what letter does the village of Ortonville occupy?
The phasing map? Sorry?
You didn't want to number things 1 to 20.
Oh, that was a
One with
phasing
letters
map.
and so
Yeah,
on.
you would
So
start
I was
with-
just curious what our letter equivalent would be if there were such a thing.
Yeah, that was just phasing, so that was just to break it up on how you could construct it. Phase-
But I mean,
you'd
you had
start-
mentioned that
you
that
st-
you
you'd
left it
start
that
with
way on
phase.
purpose so you could,
Yeah,
you know, move
Yes.
pieces around as you felt you wanted to.
so KCI and Genesee County, what we're doing is we have it broken down into like 5 different construction phases with the mindset that we're gonna bid all 5 of them out at once. And we're gonna get 5 contractors going on it, and we're gonna rip it and get through it. So you can have that approach where you wanna do it quick, or you can do it slower, you can do it over a period of a few years, these pressure systems, I said, are flexible, you can kinda break it out however you'd like to.
Are you asking what the overall timeline is though from where the?
Well, I think he began off with a 3 to 5 year, so
Yeah,
you
I can give an update on kind of where the overall project is.
closer to the 3 or closer to the 5, or?
It's probably closer to the 5.
Okay.
So the main issue, so the KCI, like Scott said, is under design, and it's going to be under construction at some point, early 2024, we hope. So then Oakland County, it's our turn then to build something for the communities to connect to. The issue we have is there's no funding, right? We've got the $10 million from Oakland County to pay to get the capacity up in Genesee County, but we don't have funding right now to build anything on Dixie or to connect to you guys or a pump station to pump it across. So that's where we have a gap in funding that we cannot identify a source for. We're talking in Lansing to legislators to make them aware of our project, how unique it is, the environmental features that we're saving by putting the project into place, especially in Brandon Township. That they make a much stronger case because you've got a lake that's actually feeling the effects of some of the septic systems that are on it. So we're trying to make that case and plead our point with people in the legislature, but there's not really a great way for them to give us money. So it's really, this is not inside the typical parameters of a project that gets funded. So that's why we're trying to get special attention, trying to get some people talking about it. But we're continuing to look for funding. It's just there's nothing identified at this point. And then
No ARP monies are there that they couldn't get rid of fast enough, because I thought there was, but nothing
right.
like that, huh?
We're still waiting to see if all the county's ARP money is spent, but I would guarantee you that we're not going to get any more than what we've already received for the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that answer.
So you know, as far as the phasing goes, whether Dixie goes in first or M15 branch goes in, he says Region 1, 2. I say Dixie and M15 because it's easier to remember. It is really who wants to go first and who's ready to start implementation,
It's the
right?
money.
Right. Who has the money? Who's ready to go? Groveland and Holly have kind of stepped back a little bit because it's not as easy. You know, now that we can't get the money to build the next phase, we're kind of stuck, right? So they're still kind of on hold. You guys are closer to being ready than they are. If I were to bet right now, I'd say that you and Brandon are probably going to go first based on current conditions. But getting there is really the funding concern is how are we going to find it? And, you're talking $25,000 per REU, and that's for your local system construction only. That doesn't include the debt that we're incurring for the Oakland County section of pipe that has to be built. So that's going to be on top of that also. So outside funding is essential to make this happen. It'll bring down, the cost to all the residents when they can make the connections, because it's in that capital charge is how they pay that back. So that'll reduce those costs, and it'll also make it easier for people to connect in, because you want it to be competitive with an engineered system. You don't want your connection costs to be so much higher than building your own engineered system, because that defeats the whole purpose of what we're trying to do here. So outside funding, again, is really essential. I don't know if you guys have any contacts in Lansing, but, plead your case and help us out. We'll continue to beat the drum and see what we can find. We're hoping that there'll be some new sources of funding that'll open up in the next year with a new budget that we may be able to talk
A to Z
to.
in this proposal here was that 33 million, 34?
Over the system? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's all the nuts and bolts.
That was for the village, for the village system.
Okay.
That doesn't include the getting it from the village to,
Dixie.
Okay.
yeah.
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 So there's a gap in the middle.
So because it's Oakland and Genesee, so funding-wise, can Genesee help us get funding?
No, because they're only gonna look out for their own communities and their counties. So we're working to try to address that, like I said, but
I would think because it's so unique with villages, couple villages, couple townships,
Yeah.
2 counties, that this should get a lot of attention because it is such a unique, and we are one of the last to not have, up here, we're always forgotten in the north, to not have sewer, so.
Yeah. Commissioner Nash meets regularly with our delegation from Oakland County. And so he has brought this up, and this is one of his, pet projects because he likes what it's doing for the lakes up here and for the headwaters of the Flint River. So he's been really pushing hard to try to find funding. So I'm just passing it along that, hey, if you have any contacts that can get us money, beat the drum and send them our way, and we'd be happy to talk to them.
So how would we do that then if we had some contacts? Do you want them to talk to you directly?
Oh yeah, talk to me. Yes, definitely. Okay. Yep. I'm going to be turning the project kind of over to Jen Cook going forward because she's going to get into the weeds. I don't do that very often, get into the weeds, but she's going to get into the weeds on a lot of things related to the project and working with these guys up in Genesee County. So, but I'm definitely behind on the fiscal and the legal side, taking care of a lot of this stuff. The other thing I wanted to mention to you too, I won't take all night for you guys, but the other thing I wanted to mention was one thing you can consider is a special assessment district as a way to pay these back. And I didn't see that mentioned, so I wanted to make sure that was tossed out there as an option. And you can do a mixture of, funding on your own and SAD. There's a lot of ways you can set it up, and I've done that with other communities. And $25,000 isn't horribly out of line given today's costs with what an SAD would cost in a city, for an SAD like this. So it's not horribly crazy, I guess.
Yeah, on the table, there's lots of options that
Okay,
we're open
good.
to considering. I think the township is talking about a similar approach too in Brandon.
And then the last thing I wanted to bring up was the ordinance. We'll create a draft ordinance for the communities because it's going to have to be the same for all 4 of you.
Right.
So we're going to draft one and give it to you guys to consider at some point in the future. So we'll try to make it as easy as possible to help. We'll get there. So
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. And thank you for all your help. I don't know if people realize how much you do behind the scenes, and you cannot retire until this project is done. I was just going to say.
that's my goal.
So that's been a question, but before
Yes.
you do, could you tell us who you are?
Joe Aaron. I own the 4-unit building at 80 Myron.
Okay.
So, with a commercial property, is there a determination of is it RE use? So you said, one residential, one, but how do you determine that for multi-unit?
Yep, so the schedule is on our website. If you go to oakgov.com/water, you can find the REU schedule, and it's based on use. So if you have a retail facility, it's different than a restaurant because of the different water use, right? If you have public restrooms or not, things like that. So you can look up what your use is on that schedule, and it should tell you a pretty good idea. Or you can contact our office, and we'll help you out too.
And how do they determine use? Like, I'm not sure.
So
What kind of business?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4-unit apartment.
For
Yeah.
So the table says multifamily residences 0.60
Yes.
REUs per
Yes.
residence.
Yep.
0.6 times 4.
So 2.4. Did I do my math right? Yeah. So you're 2.5 regular residences.
Okay, thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you're welcome to hit the road. Drive safe.
Thank you for
Yes.
coming, Jen.
Thank you.
Okay, that does take us up to number 6, which is approval of council minutes. In our packet, we received minutes from our last meeting. They were there for
Thank you.
our review.
That's it. Make a motion
That
to,
meeting was held on October the 23rd. Go ahead, Kay, I'm sorry.
make a motion to approve the regular minute meetings of October 23rd, 2023.
Support?
Okay, moved and supported. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those do in fact become official. Next is acceptance of other items, of which we have 5. They are minutes from meetings and invoices and financial reports and such. Those were all in our packet as well. If anybody has any questions on them, we'll do a motion and then ask any questions if you have.
And make a motion to, I don't know, accept the acceptance items?
Yeah, there you go.
I have it.
A through E as
A through E as presented.
Okay, motion and,
Support.
okay, moved and supported. Does anybody have a question about those? I had a chance to look them over and it seemed pretty clear to me, but I want to make sure anybody has a question they can ask now. Yeah, we don't really need one, but
That's why
guess
I was
what?
confused
All
if I
those in
should.
favor say aye.
Aye.
I just hate to say we're accepting them and not give somebody a chance to even ask, so it's kind of a formal way of making me inquire amongst you guys. Approval of disbursements, this one I do know needs a motion.
Right. Make a motion to approve our disbursements as of October 15th, 23, in the amount of $34,694.15.
Support?
Anybody have any questions about the items that are listed on here? There seems to be about 25 or so.
No. Look 'em out right.
I'd be surprised to say that a Porta-John only runs $125, but
For a 1 day.
that's money well
I
spent.
paid that online.
Okay, if I could have a roll call on the
Sent me an invoice I paid.
expenditure?
Brooks,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. That takes care of the approval of disbursements. Next is a public hearing, and what we will do is, if somebody could make a motion to go out of regular session.
Make a motion to go out of regular session to the public hearing.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're out of regular session. I'd like to call a meeting to order. This is a public hearing on an action item, and it involves the Community Development Block Grant. What's that? Oh, well, just announcing what we got here. Just a few things have changed on this since we received our packet information. So I think if anybody reviewed what was in your packet on the Community Development Block Grant, you can about disregard the entire thing because it is no longer in effect. Part of this public hearing is to ask if anyone in the audience would like to address this board about the Community Development Block Grant, and I do see at least somebody who might want to speak to the board.
I think so too. Oh, look.
It's at that time.
Yeah, do it. Bob MacArthur, Chairman of Brandon Groveland Youth Assistant. And
Bob, I don't mean to interrupt, but before you, would you like Ryan to lead you into what he learned today, unless you've already learned it as well?
no, that'd be fine, because then I can comment on that.
That probably,
And there you have it.
just to save it for, from a standpoint of efficiency, I'll have Ryan outline.
Correct. No,
what he
that's,
does,
I
and
appreciate
then,
that.
of course, we'll jump onto you. Okay, appreciate that. Ryan, tell the board what you've learned today.
Yes, so in speaking with the administrators of CDBG from Oakland County, we learned that what we wrote in the packet doesn't work. So there's a cap that, it's stated in the rules, but it's one we missed when we wrote it up, so I apologize. That we can only commit 15% of our funds to any public service, to public service in total. We are allowed to commit the minimum, the $3,500, to one public service, and that's all, no more. And it has to do with the county-wide, they have to fund things at a certain level and yada yada, and it's a rule from HUD that's new this year, so it comes from the feds, and since the counties are passed through, it's a new rule that we get to implement, where in prior years we've just done public service essentially. So this rule throws a little wrinkle for us. So in your packet you have we chopped a couple of the pages from the bigger guidebook that they share, and there's the list of all the services there, or all the eligible projects and matrix codes are there.
So these are still correct?
They are, yep, they're for
Okay,
24.
thank you.
Yep, and we, prior to putting the packet together, we talked a lot with Bob and BGYA to talk about their needs. We talked with the Brandon Township Clerk about what the township is funding. We talked with Oakland County about these regs. We talked with OSEF. We've kicked around several things. Your packet also has a letter we received from Haven as well as one that I got today was from OSEF in support of OSEF. There's lots of things to consider. One of the saving graces for us is that the entire village, so village-wide, we're eligible to commit to village-wide projects. So things that support the entire village are eligible. So things like, things such as sidewalks, tree planting, streetscape. Did I leave one out there?
Parks, recs.
Those kinds of things, yep, are eligible. And I'm sorry you don't have the write-up for them in your packet, because I thought you wouldn't need them. But they're in the bigger book that was shared via email. But so there's a couple other ways we can do it. But we can support public services one time, and then we can pick another that's ideally that supports village-wide efforts.
Okay, Bob, I will let you continue on with the public service portion of this meeting.
Well, it's been interesting because, you know, understanding that there was a possibility of significant CDBG funds that either we would split or that BGYA would get. And I definitely come prepared of programmings that would eat that money up. And found out today that, not that it was a waste of time, but I spent time looking for how that money could be spent. Because it sounds easy, but it's not. It's finding programs that would qualify, and between child and youth and the amount of money and back and forth, it did create a bit of a hype, and then had the plug pulled. But in that hype, now I'm a little bit in the rock and a hard place, and I'm going to put you in a rock and a hard place. Earlier today, I contacted Karen Mulligan from OSEF and asked her why she didn't apply for CDBG funds, because there was a significant amount of money. And she indicated that she wasn't aware that this was happening right now. And I informed her tonight at 7. I had her email that note from OSEF, just so you'd have something. So I was involved with Karen, and I told her that she didn't know for sure if she could make the meeting, and I told her that I would definitely try to support her case for the money. There lies the rock and the hard place. And we all and to get away from all of the bigger money, we just get down to I believe the $3,500. I think we all understand what OSEF does, that it's a great program for our community. They provide an awful lot of food. They do a couple $1,000s a month worth of food travels through that pantry. I think we all know that. In the same way with the Christmas business and all of that it is a great program, and they rely on community funding from community people. On BGYA's side of it, I think everybody understands too the programming that we do. I think you've heard plenty of it. We supply the funds. We typically, our budget runs up around $20,000, and using a considerable amount of that is CDBG funds, which requires a lot of extra work, especially on the clerks. You know, it does for me to put the package together, but the clerk has to have the contracts and everything set in the right place and review everything that I send them, and then plus deals with the county when I've made a mistake or there's been an issue pop up, such as this. I know Ember has done trying to get rid of this 2021 money. I can't tell you how many emails and conversations that we've had with the county to get this money used up. So it isn't a simple process. I don't know how simple it is with OSEF. I know there's some issues when they get to CDBG that they can't, the gift cards present a problem to them of being able to claim that money if they're out buying gift cards like at Myers, Beaky's, and that sort of thing. I know there's some issues, but that's not all of their where they use all their funding is just gift cards, obviously. I don't know if you've ever visited that food pantry, but it's a pretty awesome system. I think an awful lot of the community donates to that. With that, obviously, CDB, or I can't even get the letters, CDBG, BGYA, the programming that we do is with the kids through rec, through the schools. I spoke this morning with the superintendent, Carly, in regards to that significant amount of money that we might be able to have, and to go over, I wasn't going to ask for it unless the school was going to be on board that they would develop programming that would allow us to use the funds. I wasn't going to stand here and ask for this larger sum of money and not know where we're going to spend it. So I spent some time with her this morning getting that laid out. Whether or not we get the CDBG money or not, those programs are at some level are going to happen. It isn't like if we don't receive it today, it doesn't put an end to that. Complicates it, but doesn't put an end to it for us. And I'm sure same way with OSEF, that whether or not they get it isn't going to make or break them. I wish Karen was here because it's always a good debate with her. She's a good friend and makes for a good debate when we're arguing for the same money. But typically in the past, we were able to split that. And again, gosh knows, Amber knows that they changed them darn rules on us. I mean, they did it on that 21 money probably 3 times. Changed the rules. We had to go back and reevaluate, splitting ages of kids up and programs up. So I can go on all day about those problems with it. I just, like I say, the rock and the hard place. You got $3,500 to give to OSEF or to BGYA. I can't say any more than that.
We can't split it, you're saying?
Right.
No.
No, that lies the problem.
Bob, you, with Ryan's outline and what you've mentioned, it puts us right where we don't want to be, but where we know we got to be. So
That's right. That's why I said there's.
we're going to have to do.
I'm in it and you're in it, so.
Well, we spoke the other day, and I thought we had a pretty handy solution.
Yeah, you pretty well got me fired up, yes.
Nice.
And I thought so too. So,
I know, I understand that. But I can tell you, I'm well aware, in the past, I've been dealing with CDBG money for 30-some years. And I know, I've warned our board that at any given time, we're budgeting money. Our budget does not account for CDBG money. Our budget is our budget. Mm-hmm. And then if the CDBG money actually comes around, then we move that for the next year and move forward. You know, we don't cancel a program because I've had it with the township have to pay money back because the county didn't accept the program. You know, the program still happened. We paid for it. The township didn't have to pay for it, and neither did the county. But that's why the budget that we have accommodates that type of thing. So it doesn't, it might bite a little bit the next year, getting things established, but then fundraising and whatever makes up for it. So I thank you.
Thanks very much, Bob. Is there anybody else at the meeting today that would like to address the council involving this public hearing on community development block grant? And I don't hear anyone, so with no further comments, the public hearing portion is now closed. And I would like to re-enter the village regular meeting of November 27th. So we did get a chance to have that public hearing. As we all know now, we're out of time. And we're just flat out of time. We have to have this stuff all submitted by Friday. So as Bob just said, we're in a
Yes.
rock and a hard
Bumped
spot
up the deadline too.
with what we're gonna do with the money.
They bumped the deadline up today.
No, for 24, even last year was mid-December was when it was due, because I was thinking, oh, we meet, early next month maybe, but no, it's this Friday.
Okay, because I know a month ago I had asked about this, probably even longer, and that's why I said we need to get it going. So that we
Here we
wouldn't,
are.
so that we would not be in the same position. So what did we do with our money last year that we allocated?
We split it between the two.
Right, and no, we didn't, not between, we had, it was either, we did code enforcement, trails.
We had to give that back because we didn't meet the
service.
qualifications.
We've had to volley it a couple times
Yeah,
because we
because we
tried to
split it
too
3
many
times,
ways.
it was too much, so we split it twice. What did we do with it? What did we end up doing with it?
Well, obviously,
One of them was
the larger
childcare
share went
services.
to
Okay, CBD.
BGYA.
What did the other half, where did the other half go to?
And it wasn't even half, I think it was more.
Or
It's-
the,
Two-thirds.
My understanding is it was $4,000 to BGYA. 2,000 of that was going to childcare, child services, and the other half was going to youth services. Child services is 12 and under, and 13 and over for the other.
And Bob, when we talked a couple of days ago, you were hoping, and is it still your hope, that the village, because we can't split ours, gives you to one of them, and the township will give you the other one, meaning the youth and the
Correct.
child.
Yeah.
township already allocated theirs, I'm not sure, to fire department and to,
Youth services.
so you did get, you got youth services out of that. How much did you?
Correct. That's a 13 and over.
How much did you get from the township?
35, 39,
It's like
39, I think it was 39.9 is what she told me today. I think it was 39.9.
13% of what they got.
Okay, so you got from Brandon Township.
Correct.
We could potentially vote to authorize to go to, not BGYA, the youth services, the $3,500 allocation that we will be receiving from the county.
If you opt to give it to BGYA, I need it to go to child services.
Yes, there you go. So that's what the motion would be, is to.
Correct. If we were looking at the larger amount of money, it would have been to youth services.
Okay. So
Because that's what I had to figure out today on that, how I was going to deal with that money, so we got
gotta ask that again. Did you say it goes to the youth or the child?
Child.
child.
So I still
So
want to
small.
know, what did we do with our other portion last year of CDBG?
So during the meeting, we split it 4 ways.
We did it 3, then we had to go back to 2.
No, we split it 4 ways during the meeting, and it was youth, child, parks and rec, and code enforcement.
Okay,
So that's what was submitted to the county. It's since been volleyed back because we can't split it that many ways.
right.
The end result, I'm not sure. Like Bob said, we're still working on the 2021 calendar year for CDBG money, so it's a
Amber, do
long,
you
slow
know?
process. I'm not
It's
actually
still
sure.
being volleyed back and forth. We're still on 21.
Okay.
So the money was never allocated and used
And I
that we
can't,
did?
I can't pay anything out for 23 anyways. So everything's just sitting at the county.
Okay. So as far as it goes for us making a motion, of which we have to make one today, otherwise we will miss a deadline.
All right, but you know what? And this just angers me because it was so bad last time, and I made sure that the office knew, we gotta get this, and here we are. This should never happen like this. We are better than this. I don't understand
The
why this
alternative to
happens.
messy was to play dumb today and wait till tomorrow to
No,
address
this could have
it.
happened last meeting. Just saying, when I asked about it, it could have happened last month. But, okay, anyways, I said my
I
piece,
guess
again.
Bob would agree that everything was as smooth as roses, just a matter of a few days ago.
And I'm telling you, for the township, for the 2021 money, and we skipped 2022 because of COVID, we knew we couldn't spend the funds.
Right.
We have been dealing with this 2021 money and it still isn't done. The county's still holding $1,600 that you have given us, and we're still trying to deal with that to get it corrected. It has not been as simple as it might sound
No,
to
and
get
I was
this.
on a meeting with Brandon Township Tuesday where they had to change their paperwork. So
Okay.
this isn't just, oh,
We get that. Now, here's where we're at. We're gonna,
I'm gonna try
I'm
to
gonna-
get us on track by making a motion to allocate $3,500 of our CDBG money to Brandon Groveland Youth Association for Public Services 05L Child Care Services. And I would like to allocate the remainder to
4501.
public, what?
4501 is the remainder.
Okay, the 4501 remaining to 03F Parks Recreational Facilities for improvements for the Village Park property, AKA the trail. I'm assuming we have a portion of the Village Park property trail that we're planning to be handicap accessible,
Well,
that we could apply that towards?
there's been a motion, so we'll discuss it if somebody supports it.
I'll support it.
Okay, moved and supported. I would have made a very similar motion, except I would have had to go to the sidewalk and streetscape because, and I'm gonna explain to you why, and this was mentioned to me by Ryan, that is an account within the village that we have a lot more latitude as to what we spend it on. As a matter of fact, those trails might even qualify having it be in the sidewalk account. So when the Parks and Rec one is a much, much narrower, smaller box than the sidewalk streetscape is, because we just seem to have so many more choices. I'm only referring to what Ryan told me earlier today when I found out about this dilemma. That's the reason I would have opted for the 45 to go into that account. And it's just mobility. It's just the ability to move our money where we need it, if that makes
And we
sense.
had trail money, if I remember, I made the motion last year going towards, because remember, I even discussed this with the planning commission. So that was where the other half was supposed to go, but it's still at Oakland County, so we never spent it on the trails. And we don't have, that's not gonna be handicap up there. It would be between the school and in downtown, but not up there.
Yeah, I thought there was a section of lower part of that property that was.
No.
And just to clarify,
That's not what the plan was, no.
the last time around, sidewalks and that was not an acceptable project.
It hasn't been for some time. but
So, I mean,
In my conversation today, she
like I
confirmed
say, all this sounds niftier than heck of, why and should have and,
can and will change.
It'll be kicked back because we don't have time now to call and ask and find out anything, so. And parking facilities, so could that be the corner by the fire department?
I'm not sure about that one because I didn't ask.
Okay, see, and I would go there so we could pave
Trying to
that.
find them.
What about improvements to Crossman Park?
Well,
Where-
I think if we put it in the
If that would go under Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, yeah, that we could do a number of different things with it.
Like what number of different things?
Anything Parks and Rec.
Like you had
Okay,
said,
but, I mean, the village parks, township has their parks budget, and they take care of a lot of things out of their budget. We have Crossman Park and,
Heritage Garden and Sherman.
Heritage Garden and the Village Park,
Sherman and
Aaron Park.
and, but we,
I misspoke, first of
Well,
all.
I know.
I know.
Can't hardly hear
I
and
was
I'm
just
not
thinking
feeling
that
great.
The ability to
No,
move
it's
this money
the
around better
streets,
is,
sidewalks.
is the better thing than being pigeonholed.
Well, speaking of Narren Park.
Narren Road.
Narren Park.
Oh,
I know we were talking at one point about the possibility of connecting into that from the village, from the end of Narren Street through the village property, which means constructing a bridge and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's something that,
Maybe, that bridge will cost about $700,000.
okay.
So I don't think
So this
4,500
wouldn't go
gets
too
us
far.
all the way across that creek.
But I also remember you saying that for a sidewalk, this would maybe get 1 foot of sidewalk done.
oh, it's really
What
expensive.
what about crosswalks? Would this be able to put in?
That's where I
crosswalk
think
or
we
two?
can use the money for just about anything and call it a part of a
Okay,
sidewalk.
because
And as
You
you
know,
mentioned, the sidewalks are just.
We also have in our master plan, plans for some street calming, and if we put some strategic crosswalks, like say at Ball and Church or James and Mill.
Have to
help
do
slow
sidewalks.
traffic.
Hitting the nail on the head, you're giving us a lot of choices, and it,
Okay.
right, and it, I like it when we can
So then,
pick and choose.
if those would all fall under sidewalks then, you think?
Well, it's sidewalks and extremescapes and things like that, so it involves more than just
Well,
a piece of
I'm looking
cement.
at the list of sidewalks is 03L, street improvements is 03L.
Yep, so Larry, I'm looking at the guide from Oakland County here. And parking facilities fall under the same category as sidewalks and
Okay.
streetscape. That they are for, they're actually for the rehab of those spaces, sidewalks, streets, or parking lots. And part of the expenses that can be billed to them are things like staff timesheets and materials used, which are, those are costs that we incur every year. And, you know, we patch a lot of potholes, we fix a lot of sidewalks, so this could help with either of those things.
So which,
So you don't
with
wanna rescind
03
your,
what? Which one is that then?
Which one would you think would be more amenable for usage, the street improvements? I know we
Sidewalk
Oh,
got
and
lots of
I think street improvements.
streets and sidewalks, yeah.
sidewalk
Whichever
and
that is.
streetscape.
But okay,
I said, I think sidewalks, we have to address those sidewalks. I mean, we did
Sidewalks
nothing
and streetscape.
this year about those sidewalks and. the
We
whole
should
thing.
all agree though too, that this 3,500 is kind of a drop in the bucket for all these.
Yeah, it's not gonna
I
do
mean,
much of anything.
so Brian,
We're deciding where to spend
what's
our
it,
50
because I know
cents.
last year you said like it was,
Yeah.
it would do a foot of sidewalk is what
Okay.
you said.
So there is,
Spent more than that on sidewalk leveling this year.
Okay,
as it just relates to Larry's motion, we have to roll call that one away
Right now, I
first.
put it to
All right,
Parks and Recs.
I know, you had
Is
the
that
right
something
idea.
that we could use it in those areas, or?
No,
would-
you need, if we could, but it would be very narrow. If you want more done, sidewalks and streetscapes
Okay.
is what's needed.
In that case, I would like to amend my original motion.
Okay, there's gonna be an amendment of motion,
all
perfect.
right, here we go.
And the first part, the allocation to BGYA stands, I would like to amend the second one to instead go to 03L sidewalks or rehabilitation of sidewalks in the community.
03L sidewalks.
Support.
I support that.
Yeah, Kay does still. We kind of did a good job on our discussion with this, so I think we'll be safe enough with a roll call vote.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes,
Brooks,
Yes,
Quisenberry.
Yes. Not that we won't have another stumbling block as it relates to this, but let's just hope it's smooth sailing.
Good, thank you,
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
You're welcome, Bob. Wish it could have been more.
Except
You know?
now I gotta call Karen Mulligan until I shot her in the foot.
Well,
no, you did not,
'cause it's
you
kind
did
of-
not.
You're right about the idea that everybody's budget plans for a lot of community contributions and things of that nature, so it's been nice that we've been able to help her in the past, but, you know, we're just gonna have to dig it deeper
Small
this
pot.
year.
Yeah,
Not to worry, she'll understand
Very
completely.
small
Yes,
pot.
I appreciate that, and
Lady.
pass that on from us as well. All right, public comments, boy,
Scared them all away.
nobody here left that wants to comment. Items from trustees, I'm gonna start with you, Kay, if you don't mind.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, Melanie.
okay, yep, Shop Small Saturday, it was a pretty good day. If anyone came down, I thought and it was beautiful weather early on. MML Foundation evaluation, that was really interesting. I only attended like the last little meeting part of it, very interesting, and I know Ryan's gonna talk about it more, but I really enjoyed that. Let's see, the sewer meeting, we covered that. So, tree lighting, 6 o'clock, are we doing anything, and my question is before, after, or anything?
I think that was, were you gonna say
Yeah,
that in
that-
your comment?
Okay, all right, perfect, I'm crossing that off, ta-da.
What time?
Yeah, he'll,
Corner.
yeah, but if there's more to add, you'll add it, right? And then parade, is at 1 o'clock,
1 o'clock.
right?
1 o'clock Saturday, yep.
And
Okay.
dinner at 3.
And,
3.
okay, and then, just the last thing, wayfinding, I really wish that in the 2 years, we could have gotten up some kind of signage, and that's all I will say, and that's it.
Okay, I'll go next on to what occurred at the most recent DDA meeting, and they are very heavy-duty focused on this survey that they've got in the works right now. So that means a lot to how they set up their programming in the future. So that's the DDA update. Larry, how about you?
It's quick.
Well, don't really have any updates. Looking forward to Christmas in the Village. Website's up. Hopefully people have been checking that out. We do have to still kind of review. I don't know if there's any update on when they're going to be checking the pacer ratings on the road. So I guess that's going to be on hold until we hear back from there. Is that some guy who's coming out doing that?
Yes,
Okay, so
we've had trouble finding a day.
the pacer ratings for the roads,
okay.
for streets. Other than that, I'm overdue for a meeting with Ryan, but we've all been very busy. We'll get through it one of these days.
Okay, thanks very much, Larry.
We can't sit together.
Yes, we can.
You're next.
I'm next on.
Last but not
No,
least.
I just wanted to say that I attended the MML for a little while too, and did a little tour of the village, and it always amazes me how impressive we really are when you get into some of those nuts and bolts, and you're kind of like,
Well, that's fun to
"Wow,
hear.
This is
That is
really
really fun to
nice."
hear.
And I mean, the people there just had such good positive things to say about our town, and I just felt very encouraged by that.
That is so nice. Thanks, Linda. Okay, that takes care of the trustees. On to new business. Number A is village council vacancy. As we know, at the last meeting, Pat George gave us a letter of resignation from the council. We all did receive a copy of it that night, but I think it was in our packets again. I'm not quite sure. We did say to Pat, and I'm sure that it should be made official, but it's in new business because I suppose we could vote not to accept it, but I think the end result is being accepted. So, if there is such a motion,
I will make a motion to accept Pat George's resignation effective October 31st, 2023.
Support.
okay, move supported. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no, and it passes. On with that, what's coupled with village council vacancy is not only Pat George's resignation letter, but also the idea that the board should be giving direction to Ryan now in terms of seeking a replacement. So consider that.
We'll post it in the Citizen in a timely manner and have that to you as soon as we have.
Okay, and then as the long, lengthy list of applicants comes in, you can keep us posted.
Yeah,
First
yes,
and council
yes.
next, yeah.
Let us know.
I'll steal that one back.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep.
Okay, that takes care of A. Under number B is our scheduled meeting. We kicked this around a couple different times, and apparently the township has come to an agreement, and we do have a tentative schedule, but beginning in, is it January something?
January 22nd.
Yeah, the
January
February, yeah.
22nd. If you show up here, we'll actually hold the meeting back a few minutes in case any of you council members
Put a sign on the
go
door.
to the wrong spot.
Won't have
But
to
we
tell
will
me
be at
twice.
the Township
Yeah.
Hall
Be
meeting
over
room
here.
for the next calendar year. If we do happen to have a stumbling block where there's a conflict that appears, we will be given
Notice.
more than ample notice. By that, I mean more than a 1 month notice, and we may find ourselves back here, or possibly even in the village office if it's not a lengthy agenda.
And does Greg Norman and AV, they all know that we'll be, okay.
Oh, God, does he know? He's at home.
He's probably
He is
excited, yeah.
Licking his chops, he's ready.
He couldn't be happier.
Kids are probably
So,
happy too.
we should vote to accept this.
Oh, yes, we should.
Oh.
Or-
I will make a motion to accept the 2024 schedule of regular meetings to be held at Brandon Township offices.
Support?
Moved and supported. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, hey,
I
conversation,
would like-
conversation, yes.
Typically, the December one, I noticed that they have it for December 23rd. Typically, we move our December meeting up 1 week to put it a little bit away from Christmas.
We do, and you hit the nail on the head. Brian and I discussed not only that, but another issue that might be a stumbling block. We will, in almost all likelihood, do just that, but we'll probably do that around in July, when we know what other changes we might have to make, and we can make them all at once. But if I were a betting man, I'd say we wouldn't meet on the 23rd.
I was just
That'd be
looking
good.
I know,
corrected, and
Yeah,
this
I know,
was carried
but
forward.
it worked out where we had to put it down on the paper, at least as something, but
And then we
we
can
actually have 13 months in
change
which
it.
to change it, but
Okay.
we need to talk to them about it too, to just make sure that we don't change it to something that conflicts with somebody else.
Right.
So that's the reason why, but that's a good eye to pick that out. It was moved and supported. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we now have a new location for our meetings. C is renewal of consumer energy. I kind of chuckled when Ryan showed me this last week, but we have a contract with Consumer Energy for work that they do in and around the village. We are required by law to update this contract every 30 years.
Okay, I want you all to know, I made the motion 30 years ago, so I'm gonna make it tonight again.
Awesome.
I'm gonna motion,
I voted on that.
Well, it's
motion
hard
to
to imagine that they would be happy with a 30-year contract. I don't know why we
All right.
can't make it a 31-year or
There you go.
something else. But it is in the packet, there is no change to it. As you can tell by the person who typed the letter back then, that it was from an IBM Selectric 2.
I will make a motion to enact.
oh, no, I'm gonna make the motion, I'm making the motion.
Yeah, she's making the motion.
Motion to enact ordinance number 79, Consumers Energy Company Gas Franchise Ordinance effective November 28th,
All
23rd.
right. There you
Okay,
go.
moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That, we now have 30 more years.
Yeah,
of
30 and 30 years, Kay.
There you
Do it
go.
again.
Yeah, count on me.
Do it again.
Close hand-in-glove relationship with Consumer Energy. Leads us to our next
We'd
item,
be
which is
besties by then.
which is item D. Item D is also just one of those, call it a regulatory thing that we do all the time, because the road commission does use, they get an annual permit to do whatever road work they do that's in the right of way, and this basically prevents us from stopping them from doing their job. And again, it's a customary,
Make that one, Larry.
say that one? Yeah, Larry, you
Yeah,
get.
Larry, go for it.
I make a motion to adopt the ordinance for Consumers Energy Company gas franchise.
Huh?
Did that
No.
one.
No.
Oh, sorry to interrupt.
We're on the
You're right away.
right away of the road.
I'm behind.
You want to do the MDOT performance resolution, dude?
There we go.
Okay.
We got him all messed up.
Good to have paper. Just saying. Good to have paper.
I make a motion to approve the MDOT performance resolution for municipalities.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Those in favor of adopting that right-of-way work permit,
Can you say
please
that
say
again?
aye, and no, I won't.
Aye.
Those who are opposed to that, and there are no opposition, therefore that one passes unanimously.
Oh, right.
That
We do
takes
not have
care-
to do a road commission one, just the MDOT. Road
No,
commission,
they
we
got
can
one
do it.
anyway. They are going to be in the minutes that we gave one.
Okay.
Yeah,
We already voted it, and we're not gonna.
yeah, we're not doing
Yep.
it.
We are gonna, though, move on to item 15, which I am gonna be very happy to say, I haven't much to say on it, and that, you get to say.
Brian has plenty.
I'll go fast. The website went live late last week, actually, ahead of schedule, which is great. Amber has been extremely helpful in getting that process going, so thank you. The Municipal League Foundation was here on the 8th. They will share a give back memo, should be in the coming weeks. It should be before Christmas, so that'll be great. And the Oakwood sidewalk is ongoing. We're gonna meet with residents this week, hopefully if it's not snowing one of these days. But in the next couple weeks, we will be talking about easements, we being me and the residents. And then we have some other small urban funding we can use for part of Narren Street. So we'll start to see more of that coming together. That'll be faster than easements with residents. Heritage Park, Matt and I met with Ron Campbell about Heritage Park. We're talking about phases. Part of the RAP grant that we applied for included funding from Oakland County for Heritage Park. So we're talking about what money is still on the table and available. So as we consider phases, it'll come down to what funding is available and when, starting with that chunk of money from Oakland County. Other updates, The backhoe, you probably saw it out there with salt in it today. It's still kicking. Just don't kick it too hard. The Friends of the Ortonville Trails were out on Saturday and had a lot of fun doing some trail maintenance in Village Park. We put out our first boot brush station as well. I'm also talking with Blue Heron Headwaters Conservancy and some other groups like the schools about the best ways to establish and preserve the park. So more to come on that in the future. And then Christmas in the Village update. The big event is Saturday. Santa will be in this very room Saturday afternoon after he's in the parade. But everyone is invited to join us on Friday evening at 6 p.m. So Friday, December 1st at 1, we'll light the Christmas tree led by the Village Council. Bring your best caroling voice. We're also going to invite some other special guests to join us, but we'll light the tree and then get warm.
Now, is Bob decorating the tree so it'll be all decorated, or?
To some extent, yes.
Oh.
The tree. So Bob thought about joining us this evening to say that the tree has been a big pain in the butt this year, as it was the last couple of years. Getting a 20-foot tree to fit under that guy wire in the base, and so one of the things we talked about with Ron Campbell related to Heritage Park is where an evergreen tree that provides shade but is also tall enough that where could that fit in Heritage Park, as well as we're talking about trees with our DNR grant for trees, where could we fit a tree over still at the corner, and then we would have the option for 2 future trees. One would be the main tree every year, or that kind of thing. So we had a tree here for a long time and it didn't make it, and a temporary tree is a pain to put up and decorate and maintain and keep it safe. So I'm thinking we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and put a tree at each location so that we can decide in the future where it goes. I think it'll fit into the plan as we do paver walls. It can be tucked in nicely, provide some shade, I think, from what Ron says too. So more to come on that, but yeah, it's taken a long time to get the tree up and starting to get decorated, but also had to take the leaf box off late last week so they could put the plow stuff on the trucks this week. So it's a fun time.
And then
Yeah.
I know at one point we were either going to meet before or after that, if the council wanted to just meet.
Yeah,
Are we
after
not,
tree
or
lighting on Friday night.
did we? Yeah. I didn't know if that was still in the works or not. Or
Nothing
Okay.
grand.
Okay.
If we want some revelry, we can come in here after. I also know the Village Pub is open at 6 p.m. on Friday nights.
All right.
So if we'd like to get together and enjoy some
Wouldn't be caught dead in there.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Yeah.
Pizza around the tree.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Call this meeting.
Woo!